Hi guys, I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery, and I'm located in Van.
And I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, located in Highland Heights, Kentucky.
And welcome to Wheel Talk.
Hello.
Hello, we're live.
We're live. We're live. Didn't you know we're live?
How are
Uh,
you over there?
I'm on a struggle bus this week, like hardcore struggle bus this week.
Sounds a little
Uh,
cold, like you got a cold or something too.
yeah, that's included in the struggle bus. I not only do I feel like garbage, just like general garbage, not like sick garbage. I just feel like general garbage. I developed like a little sniffle uh this weekend, and I think it might be allergies. And then I've been using the nasal spray, and then last night somebody told me that that nasal spray, it came out on the news that it like rots out your teeth. So that's good. Um,
Jeez, why would
I
nasal
don't know
spray
if that's
rot your teeth?
I don't know if that's true or not, but I wouldn't put it past it. Anyway, and then last week, probably midweek, yeah, after we talked on Tuesday, I did something to my fucking hands, and it's just been the worst. It's been the fucking worst. Like,
Like
I
you
don't know.
strained them or overexerted them or something?
Yeah, something. And I woke up, I've been waking up in so much pain from my hands that I like haven't been able to sleep.
Yeah.
So, um, and I like called Lindsay and I was like, you need to ship me my red light now. And so she shipped me the red light. I got it yesterday. And then I like, I like
Is
made
the
my,
red light focused for only small scale? Because I know you used to have a big red light, but is
it's
it?
the same one. Well, I used to have a long red light. So I have a long one and then a shorter one, and they like go together, like the same width. And so Lindsay had the shorter one because her thumb was all messed up, and there's no point in like it was just sitting at my parents' house. So I just sent it to her, and then she sent it to me because she's done using it. And I needed it. And so it's like the traveling pants, but it's the traveling red light. And um and like so I got that last night. I had to drive like 45 minutes to get it, but worth it. And then I made my mom go on a my mom's like the FBI, just so everybody knows. When I ask her to do something, I guarantee she will find the best option out there. So that's why I ask her. She's kind of like Rachel. Like she's just very good at finding things.
hmm
And so I was like, "Mom, I'm at work," and I go, "Mom, I need you to find a chiropractor pronto that has acupuncture." And so she found me an acupuncturist, and because I've never done it, but I've always wanted to just to see if it'll work. And then I go to this acupuncture guy. Picture this acupuncture building built in the 70s, the wood paneling, wallpaper paneling. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. We
Yeah,
used to
with the
have, yeah,
gaps, but they're the different sizes. Yeah.
yeah.
The same as my grandpa's trailer had when I was growing up. It smells like it too. And it's like all wood. It's like the most old school office you'll ever see in your life. And the chiropractor is this like super charismatic, like man that you kind of want to punch in the face. It's like he's really nice. He's like so nice that you think he's faking it, you know?
Yeah. Is it
Like,
like a tiny office where it's just he's the only guy?
yeah, he's like he owns this building. It's on like an acre of land in the middle of a farm, like a field. And he's been doing acupuncture since like 1990. And then and he's been doing like chiropractor since like 1992 as well. And and uh like super nice, blah blah blah. We even had a chat about how like he hates when doctors don't listen to women. Like, and then I think he like misunderstood. But I'm concerned because I said I have cubital tunnel and carpal tunnel, and he was like, "Well, your cubital tunnel is in your wrist," and I was like, "No, it's not. It's definitely in your elbow, but it's fine, whatever." And and so now I'm like not trusting this fucking chiropractor because he doesn't know where the cubital tunnel is. Ryan's looking it up right now to
I
check.
don't. Yeah, I've
And
never heard of it until you said that.
and the cubital tunnel is a small fibrous tunnel on the outside of your elbow that holds your ulnar nerve. And now it does go into your wrist. The ulnar nerve goes into your wrist, and then it goes up into your pinky and your um, ring fingers. And so my issue is that when I sleep, my elbows bend, and then my ring finger is falls asleep so badly that it's
Hmm.
like super painful. And I just didn't explain myself well enough because I assumed that he knew what cubital tunnels was. And so he's been like poking my hands, and I was
Yeah.
like,
Well, it looks like
there's
it's a.
no
It looks like it's circulation issues into your hand, right? That's what you were saying, the
it is,
pinky and
yeah,
all that
for
stuff.
sure.
So it
100%.
could. So
Like it could
it's
be in the
kind.
wrist, but
I
it's
mean, it's not
mostly
completely wrist. It's
yeah.
not completely wrist, but it's not.
Right.
It's not like.
He's right. He's not right. But also I'm not a chiropractor and I'm also not a doctor. So like I can't really be like, bro, you're wrong because I could be wrong, you know? But
Yeah.
regardless, I was like, I think that I didn't say it correctly. My elbows are the issue. Like me bending my arms. Like my elbow doesn't hurt, but like bending my when I bend my arms, my hands fall asleep. And he's like, okay.
Uh,
So he put some stuff he put needles in the elbow area and in my hands today. This is our third appointment. Nothing has happened. Nothing has changed. My hands are sore and or more sore, I guess. I have been in so much pain at work that I feel like I've almost cried twice. I had to I okay, have you seen well, we talked about the jelly thingies, right?
kind of the gloves that you put on that are
Oh no,
that
we
you wear
talked
at
about
night.
no. We talked about the pink the pink uh cutter thingies that the stamps, the pink stamps that we were talking about. You remember how I was packing those?
Oh
How I
yes,
packed
yeah,
the
yeah.
okay, well they have gel plates that you can like transfer stuff onto, like ink and stuff onto them. And I guess they got like packed incorrectly. So there was a bunch of rework and I had to open up a clamshelled plastic clamshell. I had to open up 1,000 of them.
Oh,
And
like pinching it.
yeah, the ones that pinch together with buttons, I had to like pry them apart and then put them in a box. I had to put 10 in a box and then I had to do 105 of those. So
Oh,
that was 1,050 that I opened up and the big boss came by and and he was like, "Hey Becca, do you remember how long you had to do that? Keep in mind the work order said it was going to take 2 hours." Um and he's like, "Do you remember how long?"
originally without the rework was going to be 2 hours.
Pretty much, yeah. And he's like, "Do you remember how long that took you yesterday?" And I looked at him without a fucking beat. I was like, "Too long? It was way too long." And then I said, "If I ever do this again, I want you to know that I will cry." I like it's like
Is it
I
one of
don't
those things where nobody dedicated should be focusing on only doing this thing, and it should be like a team effort so that nobody is overstrained too much? Or would
kind
it have been
of
fine without the rework?
oh no. It was like a Michaels thing where, Michaels was like, "We don't want it packaged this way, so instead of your regular packaging, we want it this way." And it was like a corporation being a corporation and them saying like, yeah, that's fine. We'll do what you want. And
Oh, okay.
so they were fine that it took such a long time, but it took no, it took 8 hours to do it. And by the end of it, I was like, my hands hurt so fucking bad.
Hmm.
Even today he came up to me and he was asking me if I wanted to like move around or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that's fine. My hands are kind of in a moment right now. And I said, I mean, I really love working in the production area. I was like, except for the jelly plates. And he's like, yeah, you made that pretty clear yesterday. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really shy about my intentions. He's like, that's fair. But
Yeah, I mean, I would suspect you don't only have one specific thing that you can do each day, or do
no,
they
no,
have
no.
two or three
Christina,
different
like,
things?
yeah, she like tells me to do different things. Like today I packed nibs again, 12 nibs to a box. And I also packed like printmaking inks into boxes, like four in a box. And yeah, so I mean like that's why I like it. Like you do a lot of different things. Um but yeah, the hands are really struggling. They're struggling a lot more than I thought they would. And um and when you guys listen to this, I appreciate your like concern. I have tried quite literally everything. Please do not suggest things unless it's quite literal magic, okay? Because I've done it all. I've everything short of maybe like witchcraft I've done. So, yeah. But
Well, I mean, you're
uh
very into the finding alternative methods that are not going to a doctor to do things. I
I
don't know
am.
how much
And
doctors have done, but short of surgery
well,
or
I've had in my hands,
therapy.
I've had cortisone as well. Like I've had it all. So, and I don't have insurance right now, so we gotta wait for that. But yeah, it's been a fucking struggle. Um, but I still really like the job.
Hmm.
And I'm like I really like the people. I'm learning Spanish, a little bit. And
Really?
well, yeah, I want to be able to talk to Olga. She doesn't speak much English. We speak
Okay.
to each other at lunch in silence. Um, and she showed me her grandkids today. But we do like little words back and forth, you know. Uh, but yeah, I think that he's gonna put me on like color work soon, like filling up bottles and stuff. That'll be cool. I think that'll be a little rest for the hands, but from now until forever, the light will be used. Lindsay is getting so mad at me that she's actually shipping me ice packs. So she was like, "Can I buy these for you?" And I was like, "Fine." It
Yeah,
doesn't.
I mean, it kind of sucks when you're working all day and then your time after work has to be dedicated to recovery so you can work the next day.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that I don't have a freezer right now because my fridge broke, which will be fixed soon, you know. But so I have to like put the stuff in the freezer at work. So but yeah, I'm hoping that icing it will help. I've done so many stretches. I'm stretching all the time, lots of
Hmm.
stretch,
Yeah.
and so yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like yeah, it's not like changing standing versus sitting versus it's not like that. And there's not like, oh, I need better shoes. Like you don't wear anything on your arms unless you put like compression stuff. Like I don't know
Yeah,
how
and I
many
mean
options you have.
I have compression gloves, and the compression gloves are to the point where actually they're hurting me more than they're helping me. Like compression gloves used to be what I used to sleep in all the time, and because of what's happening in my ring, the compression gloves are actually exasperating the problem, like they're making it worse. So,
Hmm.
I don't know what the fuck I did, but I did something. And so, um, but
Hmm.
yeah, so I mean, like, it's been really tough. It's been really fucking hard, but I'm like, the last thing I want to do is do this podcast because I'm tired and I'm grumpy. But here I am.
Thanks for being here.
It's yeah, no problem. It's better that because I get to lay down today. So I
Yeah,
guess I
that's
could lay
good.
down every but um but yeah, I've been doing but I'll we're to God damn it. I could have just fucking fucked up my hands even more doing pottery. Like this is, it like did I even need to get this job? But yeah.
Well, you wonder where your hands would have been 5 years ago, doing how you would have felt doing this job 5 years ago without that wear and tear from the pottery,
Oh yeah, it would have been great.
you know?
Easy easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
How are
know. It's
you?
hard to tell how much how degrading it is over the years and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
I'm doing okay. I got a cut on my finger a few days ago, so I've been out of commission from throwing, but it has allowed me to do other tasks, which maybe I've been neglecting. Maybe it's good to do something different for the
Yeah.
last
Yeah, he was like texting
five
me
days.
all this week like I'm doing this, like it's all all computer work.
Yep. Yeah, so I was so the cut was because I was making a cocktail and I was cutting kind of with a it's a potato peeler, but it's like where the cutter is horizontal. So it
Uh-huh.
I guess it's more for I don't know. But
It's
anyways,
still a potato peeler.
it's
It's
still a
still
peeler, yeah. Um and I was peeling a part of an orange for a old fashioned, and I went off the end of the orange and I cut my finger tip. So I like sliced a little bit of my nail and then my. Have you seen? You never saw it, did you?
no.
Do you want to see it?
Yeah.
It's pretty good recovered now,
That's not even that big, Ryan.
it's like right on the top.
It's a
Um,
little baby.
so it's been pretty sensitive. It was bleeding pretty good on
Yeah, your
Saturday.
fingers bleed so much when they get cut.
And I haven't thrown or got my hand wet with like dunking your hand in clay water, and also the pressure of pushing from the inside of pots and stuff. I don't want to
Yeah.
stress it, so I've just been doing
Honestly,
other things.
honestly, the little cuts are the worst cuts. They always are.
Yeah, so I think I was doing some other work, and I think I like the skin stretched a little bit and it like busted open a little bit a few days
Yeah.
ago. So, I don't want to stress it too much. But yeah, I just told Becca today I opened up a bunch of the bank accounts for the Profit First that I'm starting to implement on the Wheel Talk account. So I just opened 6 accounts today, which was quite a task. But that's what I was basically doing over the weekend. I was doing a lot of computer work with, okay, getting my 2024 taxes and income expense kind of profit loss stuff for the podcast, and then doing some other business computer work stuff.
Nice.
So trying to get organized for 2025. And let's see, I was able to glaze, so I did get some good glazing done and like planning ahead, cleaning the studio a little bit, tidying up some, planning out what I need to get done for. I have a show next week, so I'm trying to make sure I can get everything glazed and not everything, but a good chunk glazed that I need for the show. And yeah, so it's been a little different workload, but a lot of times I enjoy throwing so much that I want to take those time when I have 2 or 3 hours. I want to spend that time throwing if I can, and I tend to neglect the computer things because I'm on my computer all day for work. So I'm like, the less computer, the better after
Right.
hours, and
Makes sense.
it's 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 a little different, but it's probably good to catch up on some other things. I had a pretty good to-do list on the weekend and got through pretty much all of it. I was able to carve some in the studio, so Erica had some underglazed pots that I was able to carve because, that doesn't strain too much and that's pretty good. So, but, had to shelf I was doing the mug challenge last week and
That's
that's the thing that I couldn't continue doing. So, but they're
yeah,
in a damp box, so they're not drying out or anything. I'll get to those soon.
yeah, that'll be good.
But yeah, that's been the focus. I don't think there's anything else major. Um,
Have you ever thought about insuring your hands?
no.
Somebody told me
Uh,
that a long time ago that I should insure my hands. And
I mean, I
I,
suspect having disability insurance is partially what you can do to help with that, to help pay in case you are out of commission and you can't make the work.
yeah, I was just thinking about how, like, I mean, I think about this often, but how important our hands are to what we do, you know?
Hmm.
And how hands are usually the things that get hurt the most because you use it with everything. Like, you use your hands for everything.
I mean, what would insuring your hands specifically, how would that be different than having insurance that you can, pay for medical expenses?
I have zero idea. Honestly, I never looked into it.
And insurance. Oh, this might be good for musicians.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm. Oh, it was just in the Google search as I was typing it. Huh. Key, policy called key person insurance or disability insurance. I mean, yeah, that's kind of what it was.
Yeah, it's technically
Disability.
disability.
Yeah, unable to perform due to injury to their hands or arms. Yeah, actually, I did learn a term. Um, I don't have my notebook, but I learned a term because we met with our financial advisor this week, and we did talk. I did bring up disability insurance because they were suggesting I look into that for when I, eventually leave my job, the full-time job, and I don't have insurance anymore, and disability was probably a good thing to look into for similar things you're talking about with, if you can't make the stuff. So, I learned I can't remember the term. The term had to do with you pay a higher premium if you need that money in a shorter period of time. So let's say your injury happens tomorrow. There's a period of time you have to wait before your first payment comes. And
Oh, yeah, that's like how I got an extended warranty on my van and they made me wait 30 days before like
the
using it.
elimination period is what it's called.
Yeah.
So they said typically, well, on Google it said 30 days to 2 years, but uh, they were saying on average it's usually between 30 and 90 days. So you pay a
Yeah.
higher premium if you need that money to start 30 days from injury, and you pay a
Interesting.
lower premium if you need it for like 90 days after. So I was kind of comparing it to, okay, do we have, are we someone that would work off of having an emergency fund or not? If you have an emergency fund to pay for 3 to 6 months expenses, then your elimination period could probably be more like 90 days rather than 30
Right.
days. So depending on how much savings you have, but that's kind of the something I wasn't familiar with, but that's kind of a lever you can pull with disability insurance that I learned about.
God, I could have just had disability insurance and then I wouldn't have had to get a job. I could have just like,
Well, it's based on your income. So if you don't make any income, if you don't, then you're paying insurance for something that you have to have a certain amount of income, or
yeah, I
else
know.
you're ensuring the income can be covered. But I don't know how that works if you're not making a profit because I think they were basing it on how much. you pay yourself as sal or I guess if it's salary, even though maybe the business isn't making a profit, but you're making a salary, maybe it's still.
Yeah. Huh, interesting.
But yeah, that's what's going on. I got a soda workshop this weekend, so I'm getting ready for that tomorrow. We got 6 people coming, so this will be my second one of the year. I don't know where they're all traveling from, but we had some folks come in from about 5 hours last time.
Nice.
And yeah, we should have a full house here. So the weather's much better. So knock on wood, I don't have to fire overnight.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I told it. Did I tell you was uh I was kind of thinking about how long I was taking to fire recently, and I threw it into Chat GPT to see if it could give me some
Yes.
suggestions for how to cut down the firing time.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna adjust a couple things just
You
to
should
see if I can improve it.
I should have you talk to Preston because Preston's like a really good he does a lot of kiln stuff. And
Hmm.
he has a soda kiln. And I think that is that a cat? No. I
Yeah,
think
I just don't know enough about what adjustments to make just yet without,
yeah.
because I'm like reluctant because I don't like, I know what to expect with what I've done, but if I make a drastic change, I don't know how much that variable is going to affect the results. So I'm like, eh.
Yeah.
But if it means I'm way more efficient on the firing, then it's probably better. So I'm probably going to adjust a couple variables and see how that works. But I would love to get it down. I think last time we fired it about 16 and a half hours. So I would love to get it down to about 13 hours, hopefully.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We'll shoot for that. And then if we can get it closer to like 12, that would be nice. But
Well, I'll talk to Preston and see if he has any suggestions for you. And then we'll call you.
yeah.
Too.
So I got 2 or 3 specific things I want to adjust to hopefully cut down some of that time. And basically, some of the basics was just like go a little more aggressive with how quickly you're turning the gas up,
Yeah.
like the burner. So you're not like eking it along every hour.
Darn,
You just
really
bump
posh.
bump it up a little more significantly. So
You are very posh as a human being, so the that surprises me not.
yeah. So we'll see how it goes. I think it'll be good though. I got some. I don't know all the type of work that people are bringing, but I know one of them is a little more sculptural. So it's
Well, that'll be fun.
it's still functional stuff, but it's a little more sculptural. So I'm curious how some of those surfaces are going to do in the kiln.
Oh, you'll everybody will be happy to hear that I have decreased my bank accounts to
Mm.
Fidelity and Chase because of us. Fidelity, Chase, and the credit union in town.
So relay out the door.
Relay's out the door. Vanguard is going to be out the door.
Okay.
I can't
So
believe
does
I'm
the
getting rid of Vanguard.
so does that Vanguard go into Fidelity then? Is that what you decided? Or is it going to something
Well,
else?
the Vanguard was kind of my emergency fund, and that emergency fund has been useful in the past couple of months. So
Okay. So you're just taking all the money out.
essentially, I'm going to try and pack as much of it away that I can. But with buying the land and some unexpected expenses that I probably will need to have.
Hmm.
So,
Did you hear back about the land? I don't know the last time we chatted on here. Are you still
uh,
waiting for the
yeah,
test to come back?
waiting for the soil test still.
Okay.
But they
Man,
just
it's
took
crazy
out,
how long that takes.
I know they said it was going to be like 3 to 4 weeks, and then it ended up being like six. Um,
Wow. Hopefully,
they,
does that impact because doesn't the loan approval happen for like that
yeah,
approval
yeah,
process is only for a certain amount of days, right?
it impacts everything. So, the loan's fine, but uh, the period that you can like back out without any penalties uh is so you God, what's that called? Uh
Not
I
the
don't know.
grace period, not a grace period, but like
Yeah, it's kind of like a grace period where you have your you like you know how you say, "Hey, I have a $500 earnest."
mhm.
Before that like earnest sets, you have like a grace period, and the grace period we had was like 4 days before we were set to close 4 days after the soil test was going to be completed. And so my lady was like, let's try to extend it. So we asked them if we could extend it and they approved that. So that's good. Now I'm set to close in like fucking April or some shit like that. It's just taking forever.
So the
So
soil test is actually scheduled though.
yeah, it's scheduled for March 11th.
Okay. At
So that's
least you got a date. That's good.
next week, next Monday, next Monday.
Tuesday. Yeah, it's about 10 days from now.
Yeah. So kind of annoying, but that's okay. All good. It's given me a lot of time to like think and mull things over, call the city about codes and shit like that, and
Yeah. Figure out next steps because once you get well, I guess there's no keys, but once you get the official paperwork
go.
or,
Yeah.
they're expecting to start having you pay for it, you got to have some. But I guess I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it gives you more time to get money from work
Yeah.
to build into that pot, but
Yeah. I'm very fortunate. So the loan is not for very much money. It's just for, well, we settled on 26K. So, the loan I think is for like, I don't know, it's just like 15, and then I have to pay 25% down or 20% down. It'll probably be like almost $10,000 cash, and then the rest loan. So that's not very, like, in the grand scheme of things and how loans go, that's not very much.
hmm
Um, so, uh, and it's paid off much quicker.
yeah,
I can pay it off much quicker. But I'm very fortunate. I'm gonna get a loan from my parents for some of the money for the closing costs. So,
yeah.
uh,
It sounds like I suspect the interest rate's going to be higher, but it's a lower total loan amount than your car remaining balance, I would suspect.
about the same actually, yeah. And it's actually only 7%, which is a lot, but still, it's pretty average right now. So,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Whew.
And then my parents, I told my dad that I would pay him 7% too.
hmm
So
You could
I'll
I
have,
mean you could throw your extra car money at it if you wanted to get it down over time quicker
what do you mean?
instead of pay I don't know if you're still paying extra on your car.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. You're right. I could, and I can, and I probably will. So yeah,
Sweet. We're moving. We're moving.
we're moving. We're moving slowly, but I think that in 4 years I'll be debt free if I don't have any more big expenses. So that's
Yeah, that's
pretty
good.
exciting. So yeah. Um. Yep. Yep. Yep.
All
So
right. Do we want to do a maker of the moment or do we want to talk about
yeah,
one of our sponsors?
let's do make first.
All right. Let me pull up
Okay,
mine.
I'll do mine. Okay, my maker of the moment is M. Gabriel Art.
And it's spelled EM, Gabriel Art, not just the letter M.
Gabriel. They're Canadian and in Ontario, to be specific. And her drawings are so cute. They're just very cutesy and like you can tell that she's got like just like a really wild personality, but also like, an imagination. And I thought they were really cool. Simple shapes, fun drawings.
Yeah,
I
it's kind
feel
of because
like
it's
it,
slip trailed. It looks like it's almost got like a stained glass effect, sort of, on some of them.
yeah. Yeah, they're just like so cute. And like I like the blue ones with the flowers and the butterflies. That's the one I'm gonna post. Uh
The
and
oh, I see
so
flowers and bumblebees from January 22nd. Are you talking about that one or a different one?
no, it's a blue mug with like a flower and a butterfly. So, yep, that's
Nice.
the moment. Boop
Yeah, I
boop.
wonder if she's using underglazes or slip. Probably, I guess slips if they're. Well, I don't know.
I don't know because they look so, I don't know, they're cool. They look like they are added after, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
I like the one with waves and a sunshine on it. That one's kind of cool.
Um,
Okay, mine today is gonna be Ray Brown. So his Instagram is RL Brown 1995.
okay. You
And it looks like
followed.
he does looks like he does some wheel throwing with alterations,
Oh yeah, those are cool.
and he's got some line work in it. I'm trying to kind of reminds me a little bit of some of the line work that Liz does on her work. Liz Cohen does on her work a little bit with kind of the blocks of
Yeah.
kind of like framing out certain parts of the pieces.
Yeah, but the bleed is really nice.
Yeah, and it looks. I think it's oxidation fired. Maybe not. It's hard to. I can't see the bottoms of most of these, so it's hard to tell. Ole Miss ceramic. So I don't know if he's a instructor or Ole Miss. Yeah, I think he probably works at Ole Miss. I don't know what his position is there, but um, yeah, I just really like the.
Ole Miss has like a really, I bet Preston knows him. Ole Miss has a pretty good clay world.
Yeah, I don't know if that's where Matt Long was or
Who?
Matt Long. He's a
Yeah, it is because that Preston went to Ole Miss too.
okay. Yeah, I really like Matt Long's work. But yeah, Ray's got some cool stuff. So you can look him up. Looks like he's had some stuff at Companion Gallery as well. Different does a lot of cups and pitchers and bowls and things like that. All right. Becca's got that documented. So if you want to look on our Instagram, you can see that. We've got them in a highlight with all the different makers that we've highlighted over the last, it's probably been like 10 or so episodes, I think, by now. Close to it.
Why does Matt Long's Instagram not have anything on it?
I don't know. I guess he's just not into Instagram.
Huh,
It's, oh yeah, Full Victory is his Instagram for Matt Long.
yeah. If
Yeah, I
you
don't
see all
know.
his tagged photos, he's got a ton of tagged photos.
Yeah, he's got great stuff.
Yeah.
I think he's a lot of soda fired stuff that when I initially saw his work is more like flashing slips,
Yeah.
soda fired. Love it.
Yeah. So in Sika.
And Sika's coming up. It'll be here soon. We're about a month away. It's right at the end of February when we're recording this. So we'll be there in less than a month by the time this comes out.
Woof. Woof.
So what are
Yeah.
you doing there? What are you doing at Sika?
I'm gonna be a featured artist for Speedball. I'm stressed about getting there.
Really?
Yeah, because the last 2 years I've been able to drive. Oh no, 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 that's not true. Richmond I didn't drive, but
Well, I
did
mean,
I?
you technically you did, but you flew
Oh
to
yeah, you're
us.
right. Technically I did. I flew to you, so it was a little easier. I'm flying out of Charlotte and I have to figure out what to do with the cats and how to get there and all the things. So
So are you primarily gonna I guess you're gonna do a variety. You'll probably throw a little bit, maybe do some underglazing, make some jewelry or something. Or you'll
um
probably be
you know what?
bouncing
I'm
around.
gonna be completely honest, I haven't decided yet and I was gonna see if they would take my so I was thinking about taking my tumbler and I found a clear tumbler barrel on Amazon for like $30, which is expensive, but it would be so cool to have like see the things tumbling inside,
Yeah,
you know.
that would be neat.
So I think I might do that.
I think the clear tumbler would be a nice eye-catching thing. People would be like, "Ooh, what's in there?"
Well, and they'll be like, "What tumbling?" Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. And Megan, I was like, "Can I put it on the pallet?" And Megan's like, "What if we lose it? We're gonna lose it. Like, you never know what's gonna happen to a pallet that goes to Ensika." And I was like, "Bro, I've got like 17 tumblers. Like,
Wouldn't that be a lot worse if you lost uh, everything else on the pallet besides
right?"
your thing?
I'm like, "It's a fucking tumbler. Who cares?" Um, but yeah, so yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. And I wanted to leave one of my tumblers anyway with somebody from Utah, and I forgot to give it to him, so I might just, leave it with him.
Hmm.
Um yeah. Yeah. But I'm excited to see all the booths that are gonna be there again and talk to everybody. I'm actually really excited for the L&L booth because not for the reasons that we will be stating, as much as they got an extra spot this year. Their booth is going to be bigger.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah. I don't know if that's like public knowledge, but
Be a little bit bigger.
I don't think it's like secret by any means. It's kind of exciting to have a little bit more space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But they will be they will have the plug and fire there. That's the giveaway. They
Mm-hmm.
will have three other kilns that Ryan is going to tell you about that are for sale that you can secure at an Ensika price before Ensika even starts.
Yeah,
If you,
you can email them now if you already are thinking about it. So, especially
yeah,
folks that are out on the West Coast and can actually transport that reasonably.
yeah. I mean, especially out on the West Coast because I mean, I bet you know what? I wonder if Henrik is gonna claim one of those. We should message him because it's hard to get an L&L on the West Coast. Like it's not
Yeah.
hard, but it's a little bit more difficult.
I don't know. I don't know how much he makes quantity wise if he needs a bigger one or I don't know.
Yeah, but definitely like having access to an L&L kiln without the shipping cost on the West Coast is huge. So,
And it's already and it'll be discounted, so no shipping plus it's discounted.
so what are the kilns?
All right, so everything is going to be at booth 508 and the three kilns that they have are a E18S3 which is 240 volt single phase. That one's going to be closer to like a I think that's their 3 cubic foot or around there. We've got the E23T3, which is also 240 volts, single phase. This is the most popular kiln model that they have. That's the one that I have, and is it's great. It's that one's closer to 7 cubic feet. Okay, I was pulling up the other size here. The 18S3 is 2.5 cubic feet. The 23T is 6.7 cubic feet. And then the production level one that they have is the E2827E Quad Pro Series. So that one is a 10.2 cubic feet. So that's your big boy.
Ace, ace, ace.
So if you do want to pre-order those, you can email them at sales@hotkilns.com and get that discounted price. Let them know that Wheel Talk sent you. And then you mentioned the giveaway. So they do have the sign up at their booth for the plug and fire giveaway. And they're going to have I don't think they have any rules on their website just yet for that with all of the details. But there's going to be a giveaway of the plug and fire at their booth. And then they're also, as part of the K through 12 exhibit, they're going to, they donated a plug and fire for both a teacher and their student that are featured in the exhibit. So I don't know if it says be sure to visit the K through 12 exhibit and vote for your favorite work. So I don't know if it's specifically for the winners
Right.
of that or if it's, something different, but um yeah, so make sure you go to those exhibits. I think I might have stopped in the K through 12 once, but that might be a reason to stop in this year. See what they
Yeah.
got going on
We're
over there.
always so busy that like it just gets passed up, I feel like.
hmm I wonder if the crowd. I suspect the crowd will be a little smaller, so I hope it'll be a good kind of middle ground of overwhelming, but also
Yeah. Comfortable.
yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. I will be at the Speedball booth as well. I'll be demoing Kentucky Mudworks, but make sure y'all stop by L&L. Tell them you listen to Wheel Talk, all that good stuff. And Becca, where can you find everything else L&L?
Hotkills.com.
And if you want to especially like make sure they know that Wheel Talk, like you're going to their website, they actually there is a Wheel Talk website page, so you can go to hotkilns.com/Wheel Talk, and that only helps our stats of like they're curious how many people go to that. So if you happen to go there, if you want to throw the Wheel Talk on the end, that doesn't hurt.
I
So,
thought you were gonna say if you really want to make them feel special, sing the song to them. I
oh, I mean, you
just-
can do that.
Yeah,
I'm
make
sure they would enjoy
23
that.
feel really awkward. Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love that. If you do that, I will give you a high five.
I feel like we need something that I feel like they need some apparel that says hotkilns.com, like spelled out, like with the
Uh,
word dot spelled out,
yeah.
with like it's like kind of wavy, like it's a song.
Ooh, I'll find something. I'll figure out something.
That would be cool.
Hotkills.com with a little hot pocket next to it.
Mm,
Hot pocket. Anyway, so Ryan,
yes.
Ryan, what are we talking about tonight?
Are we doing this listener question from this Thistlemore?
Fizzlemore?
Yes.
Fizzlemore?
All right. Thistlemore had a studio practice kind of question. Japheth asks, when using underglaze, do you prefer to paint on greenware or do you paint on bisque? Are there advantages both ways? What are your tips for clean lines when using another color on top of a base color? All right. I only put it on greenware. Well, I don't put it on anything. Erica puts it all on for me. So, Greenware is what we do because I carve everything. So that's really the most of what I have experience with.
I have thoughts.
Okay, what do you think?
As far as the color, like putting a different color on top of another color, tape is always a good option. Like a really fine tape. Um, uh, normally I would tell you the delicate 3M tape, but it's almost impossible to find. So, it's the purple one now, but I've only found it on, I think it's 2080, I think. Um, but frog tape, delicate's fine too. It's a little stickier, which I'm not a fan of. So just regular frog tape is probably better than frog tape delicate. Uh, if you are doing like a full coat of one color and then a fine line on the top, then I would do the full coat at green biscuit and then do the line on top of it. Like do the decorating on top later at
Mm.
after bisque. But you can do it both ways. You just have to make sure that the uh I would never I was actually just telling somebody this. I would never blend colors on green uh personally because I want a really fine blend and you're going to just pick up a bunch of clay if you are blending on a greenware pot. So I always like if I'm doing like a gradient or something like that, I'm always doing it on bisque. And also, it should be noted that if you're peeling tape away or any stencil or anything like that, the underglaze should be wet. Some type of wet. It's a very fine like window of the best wetness, but it needs to be like wet enough to pull the tape away without crackling the line off, but dry enough to not pull whatever layers you had under it. Um, so if
So that's like like a Flairosol sprayer where it's like finer mist instead
yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah, that'll be fine.
like a
Yeah. I just
more.
wait until it's just like a little bit drier and then I pull it off, but like dry wet. And so like I prefer to do things at bisque, but if you're gonna do multiple coats of multiple things, then you can layer them and like just save yourself the trouble and do your base layer at green and so on and so forth.
So
Uh
if you were blending, could you blend at, I've heard the term like chocolate bar leather hard, where it's like a hard leather hard. Would that be better?
yeah,
Not as good as bisque, but it would be better
that'd
than.
be fine. I mean, it really depends on how you're blending and what colors you're blending and like all that type of stuff. Now, to be fair, um, to be fair, I haven't done a lot of testing on greenware, but I'm not a huge fan of like applying underglaze at greenware regardless because I have processes. So, so that's what I have to say about that. I know there's a ton of people that do blend at green. Like if you had something without a handle and you were using using a banding wheel, maybe it works great, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, we obviously do green because I'm carving everything. But I mean, I
Yeah.
suspect the pro at green, if you do it at green, you can always touch it up at bisque if
Yeah.
you've baked it on at green, and then if you need to clean anything up, you can always do that on top of it.
Yeah. The benefit to painting it green is that it doesn't absorb as much water. So that could be a benefit for like blending colors and or if you needed to take your time doing something. But yeah,
Do you think you would use less of it at one stage versus the other?
less like
Underglaze pigment?
n- not necessarily. It would just take longer to dry.
At greenware.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would they, I guess if you're doing a lot of layers, it could be easier to, would it be easier in one state versus the other? Would
If
it be
you're doing
easier
a
at
ton of
green
labor,
because that moisture is more like a sponge versus, or, well, I don't know. I guess the biscuit's still kind of like a sponge too, but.
No, like if you're doing a ton of layers, I would do it at bisque.
Okay.
Uh, Also, you have to like kind of rub it down so it doesn't flake off. You gotta like connect it, especially if you're pulling tape off. Rub down the edges so that it's not like super rough.
Right.
But I mean, like I said, I don't do a ton of stuff at green, but that's just because I like doing it at bisque. I like how it works. I like how fast it dries.
I'm trying to think if there's any difference that I've noticed if, let's say you're definitely going to put clear glaze over it or some glaze over top of it. If you're putting it on a bisque, would you want to, like, I suspect the glaze would adhere better if it's already fully dry. So, like, the if you went all out, you could re-bisque it to like really set it.
Really,
But
that would be ideal if you did a second bisque. Yeah.
yeah, I suspect, and then you could sand it a little bit if there's inconsistencies or whatever. But I suspect you get a more even glaze, like adhesion, if
Yeah.
it's fully dry and fully that's where like I got the color on the whole thing and it's carved and everything, but it's bisqued, so I get a very even absorption all the way around. I suspect if you've got underglaze in certain areas and not in certain areas, when you dip it in glaze at bisque, it could
Yeah, I
not
think you're right.
absorb evenly.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Okay.
Underglazes traditionally do not love top coats. Um, like I feel like they fight top coats just generally. So
Yeah, I have found that a lower specific gravity, thinner glaze is happens well has been better
oh,
for like
100%, 100%. Like
consistent on top
your
of the
clear
underglaze.
needs to be like watery thin, you know?
Yeah.
Like
I think I was
ideally,
down to like 100, like 134 or something, or 134
yeah.
grams for a 100 milliliter batch. So yeah, pretty thin.
When
Other
I
glazes I use are more like 145 or 150 or, something like that.
Yeah. When I put clear on the earrings that I make, like when we do the workshops and stuff, I water like there was not enough room in the full container of glaze to put enough water in it.
Hmm.
Like I needed to take some of the glaze out so that I could put more water in it because it was too thick. And that was just like a low fire speedball under like clear glaze.
What about the difference in the underglaze consistency? Does that need to skew thinner or thicker on bisque
Not
versus greenware?
necessarily.
I think for
Yeah,
us, it's probably better to have ours a little thinner so it looks smoother. It doesn't have as much streaks and
right.
doesn't
Yeah, it's
look
more,
like
I think
caked
it's more
on.
appearance. Like obviously if you get like super fucking thick underglaze, it's gonna crack unless you put some sort of clay into it. But
Okay. Does like a Darvan or anything help with adhering to the a bisque? I suspect there's some additives you can put in there that would make it stick better or
yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, Dell talked about that in Sika that Darvan helps it stick better.
okay. Because I know, like,
Stick
we use
better while
Darvan
you're
to thin it out if it's
yeah.
really clumpy, but
Like stick better while you're working on it, not like in the kiln necessarily, but while you're working on it so it doesn't like peel off.
okay. So many options. Yeah, I don't really see myself doing much at Bisque unless I'm touching something up, but I almost never do that. So,
Yeah.
that's good to know. But we do tend to, one other thing we do wipe them down at Bisque. So if it is a little dusty from the underglaze, because, sometimes with carving and if it's a little thick, because I think Erica usually puts about 2 to 3 coats on there, so it can get a little thick because I want it
Yeah.
like a solid pigment all the way around. I'm not blending and doing all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do sponge it off before actually glazing it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Japheth, hopefully that helps you out.
Little more. Little more.
Alrighty. So you were asking what our topic was for today.
I was. When you rudely just didn't answer my question
I did not answer your question. I had to answer Japheth's question.
I'm kidding.
Um,
Doesn't matter.
so I I didn't have a nice coherent way of asking this, but I guess the short and sweet of it is, what are the benefits of running your business as a side gig versus full time?
Right.
And I was kind of thinking about this because Becca actually posted a story recently, I think yesterday, about, it's kind of nice just going to work and getting paid, and, you don't have
You
to.
know what? I think that I'm not totally sure, but somebody said that they're like, yeah, that's what you call, um, what did they say? Okay, I'll read the post word for word if it's not gone. But somebody was like, yeah, that's what you call like a sugar baby or something like that, like where you don't have to go to work. Um, oh, he said that's called being a trust fund kid, because I didn't actually say anything about working. I said, yeah, owning your own business is great and all, but have you tried being the tiny fish in the tank with no responsibility, but still get paid anyway? It's pretty great too. And then he was like, yeah, that's called being a trust fund baby. And I was actually talking about work.
Yeah, that's not what that means.
Like, I was actually talking about getting paid like $15 an hour, but it's fine. Um,
Yeah, you
that's,
wouldn't even be a fish in a tank if you weren't, you know, no responsibility. Yeah, he was taking that very literally. It
yeah.
sounded like,
And
or he
I'm
was
pretty,
just
he
joking. I
knows
don't
me,
know.
so I'm pretty sure he was kidding. But,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like, I mean, as we know, I have had a full-time clay gig for such a long time, and you have always had a regular job and then clay gig on the side. And
Hmm.
I think that we both feel this way. You can correct me if I'm wrong, of course, obviously. But I think that in the world of ceramics and small business at large, it's so uh like glammed up, like glorified to own a small business instead of like having that small business just be a side gig. It's like, oh, if it's a side gig, you're a failure because you didn't make it a whole business,
Hmm.
you know? And I would like to disagree.
It's kind of like people, maybe it's glorified to have that transition that you go from the full-time
Yeah.
other gig, and it goes from side gig to side gig pottery to full-time pottery, and you're kind of on that transition and
Yeah,
you're
but if you
moving
go
in a
the other
certain
way, it's a
direction. But if,
failure,
yeah, it seems like, oh, well, you couldn't cut it. So,
right? Which I feel completely opposite. What's funny is that um going and I actually was gonna kind of like talk to you about this anyway. I was telling Heidi this, like going into this job has made me uh I mean, I think that people see me in this setting and they're like, oh, well, Becca's got like really strong personality. I'm really confident, blah blah blah. I don't really care what I say, so on and so forth. However, however, I do have a certain amount of respect and I do like to keep my nose down a little bit at when I've been like in jobs. And, when you're in your early 20s and you have a job, you have a lot to lose, you know?
do
You've
you though?
Well, yeah,
I feel
because
like you don't have a ton to lose if you're in your 20s because you don't have a ton of experience under your belt,
I
and you're
disagree.
not expected to, your expectations are lower.
Yeah, but if
As
you
as an
lose that,
employee, they expect less of you.
yeah, but if you lose that job, you're like screwed. And like, how are you going to pay your bills, right? I mean,
I would suspect that your expectations for payment are way lower, and there's way more jobs out there for you that are in your pay range of what you expect
I
at
disagree.
that age versus being 35 and needing a job that pays your bills.
Okay, well,
But
regardless, if you have one job, losing your job is a scary thing, and like performing well at that job is really important so that you don't lose it, right? And
yeah, yeah, I agree
and
with that.
coming from a job that I've made plenty of money, like enough money to live off of, and going into a job that is like a full-time job, but also I could make money on the side, I have literally no cares in the world. I'm like, you want to fire me? Fine. Fire me. Like, not that I'm not performing well, I am, but I can see the stress in everybody else where they're like, well, we have to get our numbers, we have to do this, we have to do this. And I'm like, I'm doing the best I can. And if I can't get it, well, I've got a backup plan. Like, I have an eternal backup plan
Mm-hmm.
because I can always make money. And having that power mindset is like freaking amazing because I
Mm-hmm.
don't really, I mean, like, I still treat my boss with respect, but I'm not scared of him. I'm not scared of anybody, you know?
That's true. It does give you a certain amount of freedom to say,
Yeah. And like,
I know what other options I have. If you were laid off, for a lot of people, if you were laid off today, you would be freaking the fuck out.
exactly. And for me, if I came in tomorrow and they were like, I'm sorry, Becca, like we thought we could pay you, but we can't, I'd be like, that's fine. Like, I'll just do the other thing that I know how to do, you know?
Right.
And that freedom and that like privilege is fucking amazing. It's great.
But I think you've also went through the process of having to figure out how you're gonna find money
Yeah, that's true.
in situations where, to some people that's less obvious how you're gonna do that.
Yeah.
Being a maker, you kind of have certain skills of what you have made and have sold before, or you've taught before, so you could have educational things that people could pay you for, or
Yeah.
some people are like, what do I have that I could sell? Like, what clothes do I have that I'm not using anymore that I could sell? What furniture do I have that I could sell?
Right.
Like, they don't have many things that they can adjust in that fashion. Or I mean, I guess they can get a part-time job, another job to help build up some money, or take odds and ends jobs like side gigs to make some extra money. But you've had the experience of going through and figuring out how you're going to find money in a short period of time, and you've made it work.
Yeah, and I also have like lived on such little money that that's like pretty specific to me though that I've like put myself in positions that have made very little money, so I know how to live on nothing. So
Hmm.
it's like, whatever, you know. But it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling. Like my stress about money is quite literally zero, and it's pretty awesome. I haven't made any money in ceramics this year, except for Sephora's workshop. That's it. But still.
Yeah, I think it's hard to put a specific way to explain what you were talking about with your manager. You respect them, that you have options, and you're not gonna like kiss ass, or you're not gonna do something that's
Nah.
like out of the normal for you, that's outside your personality, just for the sake of I need to keep this going as long as possible because I can't afford to do other things.
Yeah. Like okay, I don't think that I would have. Here's an example of something that I wouldn't do before like having this option versus now. Um, I clearly love to cuss, let's be honest. Um, and but if I went into a job, there is no fucking way I would be saying the word fuck, like, or like bullshit or anything like that in front of a big boss. And I have said every single cuss word in front of all of these bosses. Like today, I think I said that's fucking bullshit to like the big boss and about something, and it wasn't like related to work. It was about her commute, but but still, it like gives you this level of like almost camaraderie. Like you're not afraid of them. Like you still respect them, obviously, but I'm not afraid of them to be like, no, I'm not gonna talk like I'm still gonna talk the way I talk, you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
I would never.
Yeah, yeah, but I think it's situational. Obviously,
Obviously.
there's certain workplaces where that makes sense and certain that it wouldn't make sense. Like I don't, I don't actually I'm not well, I'm not in an office, so I'm not face to face with anybody regularly. So the number of interactions that I have with people to give them a sense of who I am as a person or my personality is so minimal because
Yeah.
I can only do it through meetings, and meetings are pretty professional, and it's like you have a task at hand that you're trying to get through. So,
Right.
I'm not gonna it's not worth it for me to like push outside of that very much with those acquaintances and work colleagues that, I don't really, to their side, they don't care that much about like my personal life versus I care about their personal lives and stuff. Unless it's
Yeah.
an immediate coworker that I work with a lot, that we do have that kind of
Yeah, like
camaraderie. And
Riley.
yeah, so there's like 3 to 4 people that are like that, and it's the immediate people we work with on a regular basis. Um, but yeah, I think determining like, and there's also a level of like how much should I care about this certain thing. I think
Oh
with
yeah, 100%.
um, I just finished the subtle art of not giving a fuck or something.
Oh yeah, that's a good book.
I just finished that yesterday, and
Keep reading books.
yeah, well, I think I set it aside because it was only 5 hours audiobook and it was pretty reasonable. So I was like, I've been trying to get this for a while because it was on a list for a long time and I couldn't get it. But I was like, let me just try this. And I really liked it. So, um, yeah, that level of how much you give a fuck about the work that you're doing, and maybe not the work, like you're not doing shabby work, but how much you care about your coworker saying this certain thing, or your other coworker that's doing this thing and they're being unreasonable with what they ask, or they didn't follow
Right.
a
It's
certain
like,
process. It's like, how much does it matter?
right. And it really puts in perspective the idea of working the amount that you're being paid. Like, I'm being paid $15 an hour, right? Like, which in the world right now is not that much money, right? And that's still like poverty level, I'm pretty sure. But like, and like, I'm not saying that I don't respect them. I definitely do. And they respect their employees back, but it's also like I'm not going to break my back for $15 an hour. I'm
Hmm.
going to work hard. I'm going to do the job. I might sweat a little, but I'm not going to put myself in harm's way, like my hands or something like that, for $15 an hour.
Hmm. And you
Like,
also shouldn't have to take that home with you and take those 40 hours a week that you're physically there to, have an extra 5 to 10 hours that you're mentally thinking about this stuff from work
oh,
at
100%.
home. You
Like,
know,
I don't give a fuck what happened today. Like, I'll just come in tomorrow and do something else, you know?
you know,
I know
there's
I did
pro-
my best. I know I did what I could, and I left it at the door. And that's what everybody at work says too, like that's not in management. They're like, I love being able to go home and just leave it.
Mhm. Yeah, there's a lot of freedom in just being able to put that down at 5 o'clock or whatever time you leave, and
Yeah.
you're like, okay. I mean, it's still gonna be a little bit in my brain because I've been working my brain during the day, or your hands or whatever.
Yeah.
So, you do need a little break to reset into pottery mode or business mode or whatever. But yeah, it's a big weight off to not have to take all of that and keep it with you 24/7 like this small business owner has to do.
Yeah, like just to be able to have a break is so cool. And then like knowing that you get paid on a specific day every time without fail. Like
Hmm.
um when Ryan and I were talking about me getting a job, I specifically told him I want to make sure that I find a company that's more than like 50 employees, that's like around 100 employees at least, for the sole fact of having that reliability of being paid and also having certain like managerial systems in place, because being like I've been at jobs where they're like, I'm gonna have to pay you next week, you know? And that's really hard. Working for a small business can be almost as stressful as owning a small business. So,
Hmm.
so
Well, yeah,
like,
because I mean, a lot of times the small business owners don't have a lot of staff to
yeah,
swap out. So if somebody's gone, it's felt a lot more than a certain person being gone in a 50 person to a 100-person company.
right.
A lot of times you can just say, "Oh, well, we just can't take care of that today because that person's not here." So,
Yeah.
we'll just have to wait till tomorrow when they'll be back.
Yeah. But being paid every week, because I get paid weekly, is like the coolest thing ever. It's like today was Thursday, and I was like, oh my God. And it's not even that much money. But I'm like, man, this is so great. I don't have to be like, oh shit, I gotta sell some shit on Etsy right now to get money. It
Hmm.
just it just pops right in there.
Yeah, it's that immediate gratification of you put a certain amount of time in, and you know that at the end of the week you're gonna have a check waiting for you. I mean, it's from the week before, but regardless,
Yeah.
there's a certain amount of I input this effort. The output is going to be there as well. I don't have to, I
Yeah.
think with the small business, so much of it, and we've kind of talked about this, like 50% of the work is the labor mm, yeah, the labor and the supplies it takes to actually produce the thing, and then 50% of it's the marketing and the selling and getting it to a customer. Like,
Yeah.
not having to worry about that second 50% because it's up to Speedball to figure out how to sell their products. It's not up to you as an individual working in the business to figure that out.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that's where, like, I suspect that management thing you're talking about of, they're going to strategize of how they're going to distribute their products and what they're going to prioritize, needs to get worked on, and you just show up and they're going to tell you what's priority for today.
Yeah. I actually asked today, 'cause uh it's so funny because it like really does put you in a privileged state because I was like, why is everybody so stressed about their times in the production area? Because we write like every work order says how long it's supposed to take, and you're supposed to hit those times, right? And depending on if a machine breaks or whatever. But I, somebody said something today about like, man, I'm not gonna, it's all rework, so I'm not gonna like get that time credit anyway. And I was like, why does it matter? Why did like I get it, I understand on a like level of I want to do my best, like yeah, I want to hit those times, but they're not Spiebel's not the type of management that would would be like, you're gonna lose your job if you don't hit this time every single time. Like they're pretty not lenient, but they're understanding. And or at least I haven't heard of anybody getting yelled at yet. But I was like, why does it matter? And she goes, well, this is what your promotion like every year you have like two reviews, I think, and these numbers are what give you a raise if you're gonna get a raise. And
Hmm.
in my mind, I was like, oh, okay. Well, then I don't care about these. So that's great. like,
Right.
like I'm still gonna work my hardest, but I'm not gonna stress out about not hitting something, you know? And that made even less stress for me in the like I'm competitive enough. If I see a fucking number, I'm gonna try to beat it, you know?
Hmm.
Like that's not an issue. But
Yeah,
it feels like homework to them, I feel like.
well, I suspect from a business perspective, Speedball has certain um expectations of how, let's say your staff can produce 50 50 units of work per week. If
Oh
they
yeah, yeah,
dedicate 2 units of work for this task and it takes 4 units of work, then they're not pricing accordingly for what, and they're not
precisely.
getting
Precisely.
the throughput of how much work they expect to get. So,
Yeah.
it's on the individuals to meet those numbers, or else Speedball is not, or whoever we can generalize it, whoever the company is not estimating the time appropriately of how much
100%.
effort is involved. So,
100%. Like it's an extremely important thing to do to have those numbers, and I think that it's important to hit those numbers. I agree. Uh
mhm,
I just think that like, I would say that uh if it was my only option, I would be way more stressed about hitting those numbers than I am now, which makes you hit them even better, in my opinion,
mhm.
because you're not like as worried about it. I'm still learning too, so my numbers are terrible. You know,
But they
but
have a different, you have a different expectation probably as a new employee. Employees at this
yeah,
level are
exactly.
expected to produce this amount of effort or throughput or whatever. Um, yeah, we did that a little bit with agile development with web development. So
Yeah.
there's kind of there's an idea similar to that where you estimate units of work by story points, and those points are categorized and calculated based on time, complexity, and just like kind of like the unknown factor. How much time extra is it going to take because there's more unknown to this piece of work that you're asking for. So, like you estimate things based on points, and then you say, as a team, this individual on average can handle 5 points of work within this 2 week cycle. And you kind of come up with your velocity of what the team can do within that 2 week period, and that's what you base your commitment for those 2 week period. So the project manager is kind of determining, okay, this is how much we can commit as a team. We can commit to 36 points for the 2 weeks. And, do you hit that or do you not hit that? If you don't hit it, is there a reason? Because you underestimated effort or there was more unknowns or,
Yeah.
whatever. So, yeah, I suspect that's some of what's going on there. But it's interesting to be in an actual team member in that because you're seeing a little bit higher of a level of like how they work as a business, but also at the end of the day, like you can only do so much, but
Yeah, you're only human. And I should probably say if Speedball ever listens to this, because I bet Kelly's listening to this. Um,
does she listen to the podcast?
I think so. I don't know. Um, I should say that like I'm not the type of person that see there are some people that this stuff would make you work less hard, and I'm the opposite. I'm like the opposite type of person because I have an extremely good work ethic. So like uh for me to be like, "Oh, I don't have to worry about that," doesn't mean I'm not going to work as hard. It just means that my anxiety is not going to be there. Like I don't have any anxiety about it. And that's like the biggest thing for me, to have anxiety about, you know,
Yeah. You're not
like
intentionally setting the bar low so that people come to expect a
no.
low bar, and then you're like, I got so much more in me, but I'm not going to do it because it's not worth it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'm not that type of person. I'm gonna shoot for an A pretty much every time. But also I don't need to stress about it when I go home, you know? And I would do that if it was my only option. Because I know me, and I would. So, yeah.
So you mentioned the anxiety. How hard it's hard to quantify the mental weight as well of not having to be the solo business owner. And I was kind of comparing it to, hey, as the business owner, you have endless options of what you can do,
Yeah.
and it's all on you to decide how you want to spend your time and what decisions you want to make. Do you want to, sign up for those 4 shows, or do you want to reach out to a couple shops? Do you want to make work and deliver to the existing shops you already have? There, and there's no guarantee what results you're going to get with the input of work that you have. So,
Right.
like, you do your best to, if your data, if you're interested in the data, you use past shows to influence how much you can expect based on the last time you were there. And some of that can give you more educated guesses, but at the end of the day, you really can't, you can't confidently say this is exactly the dollar amount I can expect from this number of hours that I put into it.
Yeah. I would
Um,
think, it's I'm gonna flip this back onto you because uh like I think that it's stressful being a business owner, but also I've been doing it for such a long time that it's like not stressful, if that makes any sense. Like you just get kind of good at it, or you just get good at being stressed that it just doesn't phase you anymore.
mhm.
But I'm gonna flip this back onto you because I feel like you're a good example of what not having the stress can achieve. Because like your side gig makes more money than some people's main gigs. Most people's main gigs, as far as ceramics is concerned. And I would, and everybody's always like, how does he do that? Like, how does he, like, you know, make all that money, go to all these shows, blah, blah, blah. I would venture to say that you have a lot less stress making the money because you don't need to make the money. And so that makes it way more enjoyable. And so I think that it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, like but when you're stressed, you're just trying to like get by. Like when you are a business owner that's like maybe a little bit behind, or maybe you're just like right where you need to be, you're not growing. You're just like floating. You're like right above the water, you know?
Yeah, you're probably not making that many drastic decisions. You're kind of like hoping that the things are going to work out that are already kind of like on the table,
Yeah.
and you're kind of waiting for those to, reap the rewards,
Yeah,
but
and
you're
if they
not
don't work out,
like,
you have to do damage control, you know?
yeah,
And like
right.
somebody in your position doesn't really have to do damage control. You're just like, cool, cool, cool.
Hmm.
That didn't work. Let's go to the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think since starting it, it was just being strategic of where I wanted to focus my time. So I was interested in doing some shows. So I did some shows, and then you get some data around, hey, how, what are, I wouldn't say I was that focused on the data stuff up front of the first year, but I was like, hey, I have interest in going to shows. Like I go visit shows and I like people's setups, and it makes sense. Get right in front of people and let them walk by, you know. Um, see how that goes. But I think the results and the sales and everything were like, you kind of want that dopamine hit more. I think the dopamine hit of the sale is what drove me early. And then once you have that success, you're like, I want more of that.
100%.
And then you figure out, you're kind of, I also like the challenge of working in the margins a little bit of, okay, what if I tweak this a little bit? Or, okay, instead of, or, having this setup at this show, what if I put the setup this way based on, the traffic flow or whatever, or organize it a little bit differently. So
But a
it's been very
failure
like
doesn't
two to three
make you
percent at a
learn.
time. It's not drastic changes. I'm making educated choices, and I'm just moving like inch by inch closer to something that's working. I'm not completely flipping a table and changing everything and trying something completely new.
True. But a failure like doesn't hit you as hard too. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I would also say that I've probably limited what a failure means to me.
Yeah.
because of the risks I'm willing to take. I'm not gonna have a like knock on wood. I don't set myself up to have a dramatic failure,
Yeah.
but also it could be because I have chosen what I want to like the show that I want to sell at.
Instead of the one that you need to sell it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Um, so, I and some of that comes with just spending a lot of years and doing a lot of different shows that I'm like, okay, like I've done those shows and I kind of know what to expect. So, if somebody asks me to do a show and I'm free that weekend, it doesn't mean I have to. I'm just like, I kind of got a sense of what I can expect there and whether it's going to be worth my time or not. And like you said, I don't need the money from that weekend. Like, I don't need to pay my bills by the end of the month. So I don't have to pick that show and risk the, something that could come up.
Yeah, you don't have to like lug your shit to the farmer's market because you have to have that like $25 of revenue for that.
Yeah. Yeah. If I was going to the farmer's market, I would be doing it because I wanted to be there.
Yeah.
If I committed to being in a farmer's market every week, it would be because, hey, I thought it was important for me and it's enjoyable for me to be there. It's not because um I rely on that, $200 every week to help uh you know sustain a quote unquote like regular income for that week of like this is my guaranteed money is that $200 that I can go to the farmer's market and I pretty much know that's about what I'm going to make, you know.
Yeah.
Uh for some people they have to do that because otherwise they don't really have regular cuz a lot of times like online selling you can't expect that you're definitely going to sell X number of dollars online because a lot of that has to do with where's the attention, are people on their phones these days, like I suspect that a lot of people are kind of worn out of social media for different reasons this year, and they're also spending money in different ways that they're probably a little tighter, and it's probably hit sales. I'm curious what that means for sales this year at shows and online, but having the flexibility of like it's not as big of a risk for me, but it doesn't mean I'm gonna um go easy. I don't think it means like I I don't necessarily want to lower my expectations just yet. I'll keep it like, put a little less weight on it
Yeah.
of like this is what I hope to do, but I realize that there's a level of unknown there that it could be lower or it could be higher, but I'm gonna try to go into it as, kind of neutral as I can
Yeah.
and do my best to like, show up and do what I normally do, do what I think has historically worked, organize the booth in a certain way, focus certain pieces, make certain pieces focal in the booth, talk about the pieces to the customers the same way that I have historically done because it's worked. And um, I think having the levers of how I can choose to ramp up or ramp down certain parts of the business helps too.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know that everybody has those levers. I think you should build levers that you can adjust. Do you sell at shops? Do you have wholesale options? Do you teach? Do you sell online? Do you sell in person? Like having all those different things that you can adjust help you be more nimble and adaptive, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was Zipporah I was talking about with recently about there's only so many weekends in the year, and if I want to do more soda workshops, for instance, does typically fall over weekends to help with people scheduling and all that stuff. So I was like, I was kind of comparing a soda workshop to a show. Could I make similar amount of money for a soda workshop that I would at like a 1 day show or a two, some of those shows that are around a certain dollar figure, like 1,000 to 1,500 bucks. Am I willing to trade a show weekend for doing a soda workshop, for instance, because it's more enjoyable or it's something different that I want to ramp up a little bit more this
Yeah.
year to get more experience with. And that's, less pressure on making the amount of work that, I've kind of grown to expect. If you can't make as much work this year versus last year, you got to change something. Do you charge more for the things so you don't have to make as many things?
Right.
Do you do other ways of, shift it other ways of making money so that you don't have to make more work? Um, so that's something I'm kind of thinking about and always keeping my options open of other ways that, opportunities that come up.
Uh, Here's a question, because we were talking kind of like about mental health before this. Um, what is the like what are the things that like stress you out or make you not worry, maybe make you worry or maybe make you like second guess whether you want to do full-time ceramics, like as somebody that does part-time?
I think one area of it is I think I'm realistic about how much more work and production I'm actually going to get if I was not working a 9 to 5. I don't think it would be because I basically work 40 hours a week for the pottery business. I don't think it would be, oh, well, I'm just going to double my throughput because I'm spending double the amount of time. I don't
Yeah.
think that's realistic. I think it would be more like maybe, you know, 1.3 times my throughput to be realistic to start.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be double. I mean, I think the main difference is gonna be the mental weight that's taken off. Because imagine you're thinking about something for 8 hours. Like I said, I can like put it down at 5 o'clock, but there is a certain base level of mental weight that is dedicated to a day job and the time that you're physically there and you've got to like focus and you know, uh, I sus I suspect I would, get more sleep. I don't think that would be unrealistic to expect I would get more sleep. It's hard to quantify how much more beneficial that would be uh, for the long term.
Yeah.
I'm also curious how much more physically demanding it's going to be.
Mm,
Um, I don't know if where I'm at now with how much work I put in is the because there's going to be limits on how much I can throw, for instance, like or adapting to okay, what is actually throwing 20 hours a week actually mean for my body. Right now it's, maybe half of that.
right.
Um, and then how do I do that so I can sustain myself physically for the next 20 years? Whether I want to keep doing pottery for 20 years or not, or do something else. But I think having that certain base level of uh, physical strength and like abilities, I think is going to be important. Um, I'm curious how I don't know. I think I would say one of the main sticking points for me of deciding would be, once I decide to make that jump, because so much of the history and years in the past of building up to this has led to that point, and I think it's like a jumping off point where I've made the decision, so I can't really like jump back on that cliff. I've jumped off the cliff. You can't get back on the cliff as easily.
Right.
So, it's not like I'm jumping with nothing. I have a parachute. I have all my equipment. Like I'm prepared. It's not like I'm jumping into a business that I don't have like money saved for it and a certain level of income that I've built for it. And
Which 0 out of 10 would not recommend. Would not recommend. Okay, continue.
I I, I suspect, I mean, I also hear about people that go from, a part-time job to or a full-time job to the pottery business, and it's pretty um it's a little easier to make the numbers work in some ways because you say, well, once you start making more money from the pottery, you would go to the pottery because, it just makes sense. If you're making more money from selling your work and that's what you want to be doing, and you're not making as much in your day job and you don't like it enough to want to do both, then like it would make sense that, if you dedicate more time to the pottery, you're probably going to have more success in the pottery and make more money in the pottery in the small business. So it would, it's not that outside of the realm of possibility of, what you probably have success here and be able to pay your bills and
Yeah.
like do all of that. Uh, you also have to balance how much other expenses are you going to have to take on that you don't currently have to take on with, do you have health insurance? Do you have a partner that you can get onto their insurance? Are you saving for retirement? Can you continue to do that?
Can you retire?
Yeah, can you retire? Are you, are you physically able to just dedicate all your time to doing pottery? Are there other Are there other things that would limit you? Like if you make everything out of a community studio, sure, they're fine with you side hustling it. Are they going to be fine with you doing it full time
Right.
and increasing the load of work that you're producing? And you have to have that work go through the whole process and have it ready for shows that, you have deadlines on and all of that? Or are you going to be in a tough spot when they're saying, you're too big for the studio now. You gotta go. Um, are you nimble enough to adjust to that?
Yeah. That happened to me, by the way. If any of y'all didn't know, they told me I was too big for the studio. Well, actually, Larry told me that, and then Larry's wife was like, "You can stay however long you fucking want." And Larry got shot down real quick. But then I left. So,
Yeah, I think I've seen that in a couple different people where they say, yeah, out of, you know, some reasons out of our control, we're out of our studio. Like where does that leave your business if the things that you come to rely on are not available anymore?
yeah.
Um, and then the time invested to move studios and the loss, you lose the time that you could be making work, going to shows, all of that stuff, as well as whatever financial needs you're going to have to actually move everything. The risk is way higher. I think that's one of the reasons I've always had the home studio, but besides not wanting to pay rent for anything.
You know what's
Uh,
another thing? I just interrupted you. Did you have
you're
more?
good. No, go ahead.
I interrupt you a lot, but that one was pretty bad. Um, you know what? Another thing is that I just thought of that is like something I appreciate about having a full-time job is the schedule. So like I was telling somebody yesterday actually that for pretty much my entire life, one of my goals, like since I was young, I noticed that like people had routines and I can't. I'm not a routine person. I'm not like the closest thing to a routine is like how I set up my shower every day. And
How do you shower every day?
oh no, I don't. But
Oh, okay. Your makeshift clean yourself.
I'm saying like when I used to shower every day or every time I get in the shower,
Oh, okay.
I
Sorry, I thought you were talking about currently. I was like, wait, how do you do?
no, I have a membership at the fitness center. Actually, I was kind of hoping I don't think we're gonna make it. It's fine. I'll just shower tomorrow afternoon. Um Uh, anyway, moving on. Uh, but like, every time you get in the shower, like you have a certain routine in the shower.
Yeah.
Like you do one thing first, then the next thing, then the next thing, blah blah blah. And I remember being very young and seeing my like aunts and uncles and grandparents and how every day they sat down, they had lunch at a certain time. They always had like the same types of things for lunch. They always had a salad before, like a side salad with dinner. And it was like very like routine, very routine. And I have always wanted that. Like I've always,
Really?
yeah. And it was like when I'm an adult, I want to have lunch at a certain time and I'm gonna have a sandwich. Like you have a routine. Like you
Hmm.
go upstairs and you eat your fucking bagel sandwich and you
I haven't had bagel sandwiches in a while, but I have my
right. But like you
yeah,
put the same spicy mayonnaise on it. You always have an
yep,
apple or an orange that you cut up. Like
yep.
Ryan is like the most predictable lunch person on the planet. And I envy that so much and because when I owned my own business and like and I would eat lunch at 3 or I would eat breakfast and not lunch or I would, it was so unpredictable because I just forget. You just forget to like
Right.
and and the fact that this job like puts me into a fucking hard ass routine is so good for me. Like
Hmm.
I think that it's really important to know who you are and or at least find out who you are and I am not that person. I cannot be self-regulating. I don't
I
have,
sus I suspect some people would feel like if you're doing that routine and you see, your elders, quote unquote, doing that kind of stuff, you think, oh, well, like that means that I'm like boring and predictable, and it's just, it takes the spice out of your. Well, what if I want to go like have lunch with a friend at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday because they call me up? You know,
yeah,
like
I
you want that
suppose that's true.
spontaneity versus. Oh, well, like it's boring. They just eat the same meal every fucking day. How
Yeah, but
exciting is that? But
there is that, but the thing about it is that I've always been so fucking different from everybody. Like always that like having some sort of like something that makes me normal has always been kind of a goal, you know? And I mean, that's just for me, obviously. But like, yeah, now I'm like fucking food prepping on Sundays and like prepping lunches for the whole week and like eating the same type of food. And it's like I'm eating healthier because I have, like, you have to prep it. And I'm not paying as much money for food because I have a plan.
yeah, that's
I,
great.
like all of these things are a benefit for me personally uh that I think that I just need in my life. Like, yeah, am I fucking exhausted right now? Yeah, but I expect that to be the case for at least a couple months. Like,
That's the trade-off. That's the sacrifice you have of and the
yeah,
uncomfortability of you can't just up and go visit somebody,
right. And I'm
for the
not
next
having that.
six days or whatever.
Yeah, and I haven't had a real job in 10 years. So like, yeah, there's a transitional period, but that, whole aspect of waking up at the same time every day, eating lunch at the same time every day, having a fucking snack, having a break, like even going to the bathroom at the same time every day is like something I haven't had for such a long time, and it's great.
Yeah. How has the adjustment to the time difference been? Because I just like for me, I would totally. I'm looking forward to the time when I'm not doing the full-time job because I can wake up at 10:30 every day and I would be fucking ecstatic.
Oh yeah, 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 for sure. PS, that makes you lazier. I don't know why, but it does. But
What's lazier?
like when I think that it makes you like lazy. Well, the way that I had to think about it when I was like, could wake up at any time is that I just treated the beginning of my day like I would treat the end of a day. So I'd be like, I'm not gonna do anything until a certain time, and then I'll go full tilt until I sleep.
Hmm.
Whereas most people go full tilt from the time they wake up till like a certain time, like 5, and then they
Hmm.
relax, I would flip it. Anyway, um, so if you guys don't know, I currently wake up at 5:45 every single morning to get to work at 6:45.
Gosh.
I feel like I would wake up later if I didn't have these two monster cats that I had to take care of and like wrangle in the morning, especially the one that happens to be white. Um, but it's been surprisingly a lot easier than I thought it would be. I've made myself go to sleep at 9 p.m. pretty much every night.
Ooh.
Like get in bed by like 9. So I think that doing that has helped me like be able to wake up at 5:45, but also I am, you know, it's yeah, it's
That
fine.
would be a major adjustment for but I mean you just come to know when you need to go to bed. So because
When you're tired.
I'm well yeah, I would be like, oh well, I mean but I wouldn't work the same schedule, I suspect. I wouldn't be if I was waking up at 10:30, let's say I didn't have the 9 to 5, I probably wouldn't wake up at 10:30 because I probably wouldn't be going to sleep at 1 o'clock in the morning. I would suspect I would go to
Right.
bed earlier at, 11:30 or 12, but maybe earlier than that. But
Yeah, and I mean like I'm so fucking tired because it's a whole new system that I can fall asleep a lot faster. And also my I wake up because my hands hurt, so yeah,
yeah. All right, we almost forgot something. Well, we
whatever.
did forget something, but all right, so I'm about to do my next soda fire, and one of the best things that I've had in there has been these friggin' advancer shelves because the cleanup is so easy and it doesn't matter how much. I'm not worried about how much glaze the especially the attendees because it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell students like here's how much glaze you should use. Don't overuse it, and it's gonna run all over the shelf or whatever. Like I don't have to worry about that because I can clean them up super easy now. So um, I've been really and I've been loading those kilns a lot in the electric kiln too recently. And it's hard to know how beneficial those are going to be in the long term too, of not having the body strain of picking those up and
Oh my
fitting
gosh,
fitting more work in there.
the ultra thin is like magically light. I can't even describe to you. When you pick up a full shelf that's ultra thin, you're like, what is
You could
happening?
pick it up. You could pick it up with one hand, like a full shelf.
I could pick it up with one hand and I don't even have strength in my hands. Like,
Yeah,
I can barely pick up a cup and I can pick up that whole shelf.
yeah. It's like three. I think it's 3/8 of an inch thick on the ultras. Super thin.
Insane.
Yeah. So we're getting those kiln washed today, so we can get them in the kiln tomorrow. And yeah, they've just been great. So having those in the soda kiln, having them in the electric kiln, they're good for all that stuff. Um, and yeah, if you get any glaze on them, just use you can use a scraper, you can use the glaze eraser. Just scrape it up, get it clean, and the glazes pop right off. You don't have to grind and do all that work to refresh your shelves and cut into the shelves like you would a traditional shelf. So they
Yeah.
are an investment, but it's kind of think of it as a lifetime investment. So getting that kind of stuff now. So
Oh, and they have new sizes for the new plug-in fire too. They
yeah, they do.
it was like a really small, a little tiny shelf for the plug-in fire. That's really nice. And also, something that's not as popularly known is that they actually have like kiln posts and stuff like that. I think they even have other type of shelves on their website. And their kiln posts, we did a cost comparison, and it's pretty reasonable. I feel like they might even
Hmm.
be cheaper for some of them.
Yeah, the other shells they have the core light kiln shells, which are the ones that have the kind of hollow.
Yeah.
hollow parts in them, and they have some high alumina kiln shelves for wood and gas kilns. But yeah, they got the new. Oh, that's a 16 by 16. I was trying to see the one for the
They
little
should be
kiln.
like 7.5, maybe 7.
Yeah, I'm trying to see them on here. Oh, I was in the wrong section. Sorry, I was on the conventional kiln shelves. Boo, boo, boo. 7.5. There they are. Yeah, the ones they have listed on here, 6.75 by 6.75,
Oh,
and
I'm so
they're
glad they went with that advice.
quarter of an inch. They look really nice.
Yeah, they're rounded on the corners. They look nice.
Yeah, sweet. So, if you want to check out Advancer, where do we go, Becca?
Kilnshelf.com.
Kilnshelf.com.
We have our sponsors have the best websites, by the way.
It's so
Like,
easy. Yeah,
so easy. We got blessed with that.
that two syllable, super easy.
Yeah.
And then the ultras are in round. They're only full shelf round right now, but we'll see if they change that over time. But yeah, we'll see them at NCK as well. Um, was there like, is there something that you would back to the topic? Is there something that you think? Well, I mean, you already think I'm probably thought through a lot of this of going full time at some point, but is there something that you would tell somebody that's kind of in my situation of, hey, this is something that I think you should look out for, or something that maybe you're not prioritizing or is top of mind that maybe you should um well, I don't know if it's like this is what I would recommend you do when you go full time or
Or
um
like what you like the thing that you don't realize is gonna happen type of thing.
right. Yep.
Um, well, I think routine is a big one. Having routine, like how you were saying, already saying, like, oh, I get to sleep until 10:30, which is true, you do. But then you have to deal with the fact that you either like blame yourself for waking up too late, or you
Mm.
and because you're not getting enough work done, blah blah blah. And so you have to have like really hard, fast boundaries and expectations of yourself that you are okay with. And you have to give yourself a shit ton of grace. Like so much grace. Because you can really get yourself down. I think that like this doesn't apply to you because you have an extremely good budget, but having a budget and still saving is like one of the biggest things that's the hardest thing. So, I mean, yeah, I know that Profits First, like the Profit First book, a lot of people, somebody messaged me and was like, I fucking hate that book now. Um, but
Well, after listening to us talk about it or
both and list and just reading it. Um,
okay.
but I think that like really, actually following that kind of a guideline or like making it a point to actually save money is so important. And it's so easy to be like, no, no, no. I need this money for myself or I need this money for this and to not save that money and that's like it's just really hard. It's
Well, I
just
think there's yeah, and there's decisions you can make in the business of like I need to get a new kiln or I need to get new I need to branch out my glaze options versus or I need these new products or whatever because it's gonna return on investment. But
yeah,
like there's no guarantee that certain things will. It depends on what part of your business and what state you're in. Like, are you in a part where you're like upgrading parts of your business because they will actually return that money to you? Or are you getting it because it's a nice thing and you've seen it and it's like, I've seen people have this and I've been wanting it for like 5 years. Like it's time. I'm gonna treat myself. I'm gonna get it.
Right. I think that's a big thing too. Like now that like I have like had a studio and then sold everything in the studio and like started up again twice. I th One of like the biggest flags that goes off in my brain when I meet people that especially are like small business people is when they're like, "Oh, well, yeah, I just found this, and this, and it was only this much money, but I bought 12 of them," or "I am starting a new studio and I'm doing this and this and this," and like going so quickly and spending so much money so quickly. It's That's scary. That's like really scary. Um, and you don't know, like, and I mean, I did it. We all did it. Maybe not you, but like, I bought the slab roller and I bought a different slab roller and then then I bought like six wheels and then I bought all these things. And if I wish that I would have like started low and slow, and kind of like move my way up, but I have an opportunity to do that again. Like right now I have everything that I need, and what I need is not very much. Well, it feels like a lot, but it fits under the bed. So, but like, yeah, I think that that's probably the biggest thing is spending so much money right off the bat and thinking you'll be able to make it back
Hmm.
quickly is unrealistic in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Even if it's not going into debt to do it, it could just be, hey, you're depleting your savings and you're saying, this is the cost I got to pay to, make the money. But if you haven't sold any, like, I think you have to have some regularity of sales to, uh, what's the difference there? Do you work off of do you start with an Amazon wheel and you spend $100 and 150 bucks for it? And you're like, how long is this going to last me? I get it. This might not be my lifetime wheel, but will it get me to a point where it can, you know, hold me over for a period? And then in that period of time where, you didn't spend $1,000 on a wheel, you can figure
Yeah.
out what you're making, deal with it. Maybe it doesn't fit, maybe it doesn't fit the certain gift and grip that you want to use or whatever. So you're like, well, I just got to work around that. Or, hey, you've got that time period from when you buy that Amazon wheel and you're using it up until you buy your next wheel. And maybe in that period of time, like you stumble across a wheel that's used that somebody's selling out of their studio they're closing, and you get a steal on that price. Like maybe you spend 400 bucks on a wheel, but you actually have more income to be able and savings to pay for that instead of paying like upfront 900, 1,000 bucks for a wheel that is like a really big strain. And you're like, well, I'm getting it because it's going to last me like 10 years. But like, if you haven't sold anything,
Yeah.
like, are you even going to be doing this in 10 years? Like, I get it. It's a lifetime wheel, but I think buying things for where you're at makes, at least from a business standpoint,
It makes sense.
it makes
Yeah.
more sense to do that. Kind of like, well, I don't know how to work on kilns, so like I'm gonna get a kiln that's set it and forget it, and I don't have to do anything.
We'll figure out how to work on a kiln.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that hard. I just did a class on it. Go buy it.
Yeah, yeah.
No, but yeah, for reals though. And also on top of that, like just to add to that, um,
It
add
just
to
it
that, but different, buying things cheap because they're available and then just having them. Like like a kiln hoarder or a wheel hoarder. Like, oh, it doesn't work, but I'll fix it eventually. No, you won't.
yeah.
You won't. There's like 2%
Yeah.
of people that actually will.
I
So,
mean, unless you're taking it for free and you're gonna sell it to somebody else or something, and you're
yeah,
like, well, it's free, so I can, they just didn't know the market of how to sell it. Like, I know somebody that's willing to buy it, sell it for a discount. I don't know, make a little money quickly, but don't spend a lot of time and effort to figure it out.
yeah,
Um, oh, I was gonna say the kiln thing, like. some people were like, well, I just, I outsource that. I don't want to worry about kiln maintenance. Like that's just not my thing. It's not my jam. Just like people are like, well, I don't want to mix my own glazes because it's not my thing. I can just buy a commercial. It's what I want. But like everybody has to at some level know the basics of, you know, I- at least I think most people generally should probably know how to run a kiln.
Agreed.
Like, how much money are you going to have to fork out to get firing done at somebody else's studio? And you're relinquishing control to some other entity that you don't have control of. So like you're paying, and you're probably paying a premium for it to an extent. And how much money are you going to spend in that you could have bought a kiln already by that point? And you're doing it because you don't want to do you don't want to educate yourself on how to manage the kiln and work on the kiln, and you're just you're nervous about it. Or I mean, obviously work within the regulations of like your situation of like, do you have an actual place where you can install it legally? Or obviously that comes into play. But um I think if you're doing it for the sake of, well, I'm just going to keep buying commercial glazes, like that's going to hit you at some point with how much overhead are you spending on glaze just to get that piece out the door? And how much time and effort is it going to take for you to understand how to take a recipe and mix it yourself? And how much are you going to spend on those materials? Do you have the space for it? Like, would you be enticed if you could make that similar glaze that you pay $120 for a 10-gallon bat or a 5-gallon batch? If you could get a 10-gallon batch, or sorry, uh, I'm thinking pounds. If you can get 2.5 gallons of a glaze for like $120 commercial, but you can mix a 5-gallon bucket of a similar glaze that you mix yourself and you spent like $30 for it, is that enticing enough to be like, maybe I should learn that? Maybe I should learn a little bit. It doesn't mean you have to know the chemistry, but it's like, hey, I know how to mix a glaze.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ryan's Soapbox.
yep.
I'm
Well,
sorry,
well, a
Andrew
lot
and
of
I
people
were
just
just
don't
talking
know.
about.
They're just like, I don't want to spend the time doing that. So it's just like, well, okay, well, you're gonna pay for it some spot. So
Yeah. But I think that's probably the biggest thing is like spending money when you don't need to, and prioritizing your time and having boundaries. Boundaries are fucking huge. And like also don't leave your friends. Like,
what does that mean? Oh, still have a social life? Is that what you mean?
yeah, you gotta make time for the people in your life. You
Hmm.
have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because how rewarding is the job gonna? Then you just took on a job. You just traded a job for a job,
Yep.
and you don't really get to leave that job at the end of the day. I mean, it's still in your brain. It's still that separation's harder to have because your
Yeah.
boss is you know in your head all day, and they're gonna be there tomorrow, and you can't get away from them. So,
Nope.
yep. Alrighty.
Leave on that very passionate speech you just did.
I didn't even feel like it was that much, but whatever. All right.
Well, it was very fueled by frugality.
All right.
Love it.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening, and we will catch you next time. Hopefully, we see you out in Sika.
Bye.
Bye.
Stop.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to another episode of Wheel Talk. This podcast is made possible through the contributions of all of our listeners who always ask us great questions, leave us reviews, and contact with us through social media. Thanks to all the fellow makers as well who take time to be interviewed and share about their lives and businesses.
And thank you to Ashley from Boldover Ceramics and Lindy from Lindy Garner Ceramics for their assistance on the Whale Talk Podcast Instagram. You are invaluable. Thank you to everybody.